Anyway, so Michael O, when he's done with his call, will join us in this conversation. He's the Global Executive Director, CEO of the Lausanne Movement, Lausanne Committee for World Evangelization, Worldwide Evangelism, and the focus here is going to be, we're going to talk about Lausanne. Now, many people, this was new. Last year we gathered together. We actually had signs that said this was a national evangelism conference. It's no longer national. Now it's a North American. Then we have people come all over the world. We have people from South Africa, people from Europe, people from Asia, South America, and more. But Lausanne as a movement may be new to some people, but this is now also the Lausanne North American Gathering. So tell us a little bit, for those unfamiliar, about the Lausanne movement.
Yeah, well, the Lausanne movement in many ways is really kind of embodied in this room. It's the connecting of influencers and ideas for global mission. And you're gathering together, connecting, thinking about gospel issues, and the advance of the gospel really exemplifies the Lausanne movement. Now, you may be familiar with other gatherings. Lausanne has played host to three largest global and most globally representative gatherings of church leaders in the 2,000-year history of Christianity. It was exemplified 3 months ago at Billy Graham's funeral. Yeah. So Billy Graham was the founder of the Lausanne movement along with John Stott. And at Billy's funeral, it was really a really powerful display of the power of friendship. And Lausanne, we talk about the spirit of Lausanne, the spirit of humility, study, friendship, prayer, partnership, and hope. And the Lausanne movement, I think, is in many ways is really an expression of that power, the power of friendship. Now, we are connecting influencers and ideas for global mission. What is that mission? We talk about a fourfold vision, the gospel for every person. So at core, we want to see the gospel really powerfully expressed, touching, and displayed to every single person on earth, to the 1.1 billion people who are living in extreme poverty, to the 1.5 billion Muslims in the world, 500 million Buddhists, 1.1 billion Hindus, 1 billion people on earth. 1 out of 7 people on earth have a disability. We want to see the gospel advancing to them and also advancing through them. And this is at core who we are. Secondly, an evangelical church for every people. And if you're familiar with the ideas that the Lord has kind of introduced through the Lausanne movement and really spotlighted, one of the most famous was at the very first Lausanne Congress through Dr. Ralph Winter, the concept of people groups and unreached people groups. And that has been at core of who we are and in our advocacy for the advance of the gospel. Thirdly, Christ-like leaders for every church. I would encourage you to watch Chris Wright's talk from the Third Lausanne Congress in Cape Town on calling leaders of the church to be his leaders, leaders of humility, integrity, and simplicity, and fourthly, kingdom impact in every sphere of society, which was so powerfully and beautifully described in the sharing earlier today.
Good. Now, of course, Lausanne is new to some people again, but part of it is it's a global partnership. And the idea of partnership is kind of tied into the spirit of Lausanne. It's very early on, in the beginning, you mentioned Billy Graham and John Stott, and then all these global leaders who partnered together. Why does partnership matter for the sake of the kingdom?
There's a really dangerous, seemingly innocuous attitude that exists among Christian leaders and Christian organizations. So there are 500 global mission networks in the world. The leaders like each other, appreciate each other, respect one another, but the dangerous attitude is, I don't need you. I don't need you. And that's maybe convicting for you in their seat right now, myself as well. I don't need you. And what is it, though, that we can do together? What is it that God can do through us together that couldn't possibly happen if we work independently from one another? So last year we had really an historic gathering in Wittenberg, Germany on the 500th anniversary of the Reformation, and we brought together 90 of the top most influential leaders in global mission, decision makers and leaders and voices. So this was an opportunity to think through that question, in particular thinking about the gospel for every person and an evangelical church for every people. And it was a powerful time to look at the whole world and think about what we might do together in partnership. Let me give just one other quick illustration of that. As we think about the global university student population, Lausanne has been working to gather people to really think about what it could look like if we partnered together toward the gospel going forth to every student on every campus and every nation. In 1970, there were 33 million students in higher education globally. It sounds like a tiny number. It tripled by the year 2000 to 100 million. Those in international student ministries, we gathered them together last month to think through what is our state now. A lot of them were talking about how there's been a slowdown, U.S. immigration laws, immigration patterns, etc. But in fact, the research shows that we are not in a slowdown. We are preparing for an unbelievable advance in the increase of the global student population for higher education. In fact, by 2040, we may have not 100 million, not 150 million. We may be approaching 600 million students globally on higher education campuses. How do we prepare towards that? Not just you, not just your ministry, but how do we partner to prepare for this unbelievable global education opportunity and global gospel opportunity?
It's awesome. One of the things that we're excited about, Alexander Best, of course, is our Canadian leader, actually working together to look at how do we look at international student ministry in North America, do that through North American Lausanne partnerships, so these partnerships kind of continue. Let's talk about evangelism itself. Historically, we know that people, we've seen a pattern. People sometimes say, well, we're going to do this, and yeah, we still believe in evangelism. And when they say we still believe in evangelism, about a generation away from not believing in evangelism anymore. But there's a sense that there's kind of this middle space. We seem to be, in many ways, at a lull, at least in North America, about gospel sharing. From what you've observed, what can, and even globally, about the church's view of evangelism, do people see it as a priority? How do we make it a priority? Weigh in a little bit on that.
Yeah, I think many people see it as a priority for someone else to do.
Right. Someone else to do. That's right. Someone else to do.
And that's the problem.
It is.
And I often talk about the scandal of the 99. And the scandal of the 99 is that the whole church believes this is an important issue. Someone should do something about it. And the 1% of the church who are in professional ministry should do something about it. And the 1% of the church who are in professional ministry are pretty happy to have that role and kind of believe that the 99% exists to support their ministry to see that happen. And that is scandalous because God has called the whole church to bring the whole gospel to the whole world. Yes. And in fact, the 99% do not exist simply to support the ministry of the 1% to bring the gospel to the whole world. The 1% exists to support the ministry of the 99. And that has been something that we've been really trying to Lord willing, be a prophetic voice in challenging the whole church. And in fact, next year we're going to have our most concrete, visible event and expression ever for the Lausanne Movement. We'll be having the Global Workplace Forum and challenging Christians in every sphere of society, right? We want to see kingdom impact in every sphere of society. There's no way that the 1% can fulfill the Great Commission. There's no way that the 1% can bring impact in every sphere of society because the 1% aren't there.
That's good.
The 1% aren't in media, technology, sports, science, in the prisons. They're not in arts. They're not in these places. So the only way is, especially if we want to see kingdom impact in every sphere of society among every people group on earth, we need to see a beautiful partnership between a lot more missionaries going out and a lot more Christians going out, moving in every sphere of society among every people group on earth. And that's going to be the challenge and the message of the Global Workplace Forum.
I think that's an appropriate time. So kind of clappers. My people are kind of ameners. These people are kind of clappers. So I think that'd be a good time to say amen. Amen?
Amen.
There you go. I got to help them with it. There's one guy who's from my people. So you have served globally in cross-cultural missions. You now live here in North America in the context. And so talk to us a little bit about from what you've observed, What can those of us in North America learn from our global sisters and brothers when it comes to sharing a simple gospel?
Yeah. It was a few months earlier in this year that I got an email from Gideon Paramalam, a longtime Lausanne leader, and he shared with me the story of and a prayer request for Leah Sharibu. Leah Sharibu is a 15-year-old Nigerian young female Christian, and Leah was one of 110 girls from the Dapchi area of Nigeria who were kidnapped by Boko Haram earlier this year. 5 of those girls were killed, and about 3 months ago, 104 of the girls were released and returned to their families, all of them but Leah. The condition of their release was to renounce Jesus Christ, and Leah Sharibu refused to renounce and refused to buy her freedom. What if Leah were a typical 15-year-old American high school girl? What would be the uprising of Christians, the outcry? What would be the response? Every single church, every single Christian in America would be doing something, would be praying, would be brokenhearted. But not Leah. We need to do something about it. We need to rise up. We need to embrace her as our own, because she is our own. She is our flesh and blood in Jesus Christ.
Yes.
And she is standing for the gospel. What do we learn from her? We learn that there is a cost to discipleship, and it is a beautiful sacrifice.
Yes.
I shudder as I think about the treatment that she is undergoing. I shudder. But we glory in the beautiful display of the powerful expression of what it means to be a follower of Jesus Christ in her life. It's hard to share the gospel. We know it, you know. You don't want to lose your family. You don't want to lose your friends. You don't want to lose your reputation, your job. But we live in a tradition over centuries of people who have laid down their lives, who have endured shame and persecution and oppression, poverty, for the worthy cause that Jesus Christ might be known. Can we come back to this church in North America? Can we come back to this gospel life and this commitment to sharing and displaying the good news of Jesus Christ? Please pray. Pray for Leah. Rise up for Leah. Embrace your call as a part of the global church.
It's a good word. And the key is a part of the global church. And somehow we've sort of thought that maybe we'd be the one people in 2,000 years of history who didn't have it hard.
Yeah.
And because maybe we live in the West in this time, in this place. And it's not always true. It's not always going to be true. But at the same time, we need to stand together with sisters and brothers around the world. Give us an example of what God's doing globally as he's drawing people to himself.
I want to call you to prayer for China. And so many of you probably have heard stories, know what's going on in the last 200 years, the last 100 years. Lausanne has played a kind of a unique, beautiful role in really the introduction of the Chinese church, the house church, into the global leadership. And there were 200 empty seats at Cape Town at the Third Lausanne Congress. Our Chinese brothers and sisters who were going to the airports in Shanghai and Beijing were met by 150 policemen who were there to arrest them, put them under house arrest, and prevent them from joining the rest of the global church leadership in Cape Town. The Lord had better plans that went beyond what the police and the Chinese Communist Party had decided, and used this to launch a vision the Mission China 2030 vision, which is a powerful one. It's about the coordination and collaboration for the raising up of the next generation of Chinese leaders, young leaders, and education and training in the country. Number two, there are 100 cities in China with a population of 1 million or more. There are over 100 cities. Yeah. And there, in those 100 cities, there are 5,000 train and subway stops. Their vision now coming out from this persecution and this prevention of joining is to see a church planted in every one of those 5,000 train and subway stops. Thirdly, in the 200-year history of mission work in China, there have been 20,000 missionaries who have entered into China to bring the gospel. And they want to repay that missionary debt. So the vision is to send out 20,000 missionaries from China to bring the gospel to the rest of the world and see their beautiful part, their integral part of the advance of the kingdom be faithfully, obediently displayed. So we're really excited. We're in a unique situation right now. 2 months ago, there was a very clear, unique shift in what's going on in China. You need to understand this, and you need to be in prayer. And this shift has been basically previously the Chinese Communist Party operated through the government to control various departments, including religious affairs and the underground church. That shifted 2 months ago in a very clear way under President Xi's leadership. And now the Communist Party directly controls the house church in China. And they are trying to establish this in a very powerful way, including putting CCTVs, cameras up in every single church, in every single corner of the church, so that they see, hear, and control everything. Now, normally we would be very careful to share this kind of information and say, don't tweet about this, don't speak about this, but we're in a different situation now, and we want people to know about this, we want people to share about this, we want people to pray about this, because the next months and next years are going to be critical. There's going to be a public smearing campaign of the house church leaders and particular churches, and we need to be in prayer, and we need to publicly stand with the Chinese church, and we want you to be a part. Pray for the nations. Pray for China. I want to just offer to you 2 quick resources that are free from a gift from the Lausanne Movement. Last year, the unique ministry of Operation World, the definitive prayer guide for every nation on earth, came under the Lausanne umbrella, and we released an app of Operation World. So look up on Google, Apple Store, Operation World. You have a free app. You can pray for the nations. This is the most important opportunity for you to be praying for the nations. And then number 2, if you have the Bible under YouVersion, which millions and millions of people do, the Cape Town Commitment now is available in prayer format on YouVersion. So you just look under "We Love Because He First Loved Us," and you can join the thousands and thousands of people who are using that resource every single day.
And by the way, Cape Town Commitment is something we think is so important at Wheaton College. All of our students in the undergrad program actually study the Cape Town Commitment. I guess you and me both with daughters in that context. So, and so want to encourage you to engage with that. We're thrilled at the Billy Graham Center that the North American Lausanne office is now here, embedded in what we're doing. We're doing these things collaboratively. Last night, many of you heard what we're doing, launching strategy groups and more. And so we're excited to be a part of that. Would you, I'm going to ask you to thank Michael, and then I'm going to ask you to lead us in prayer as we pray for the church in China while here at the North American Gathering. Let's thank Michael O.